Hi everyone, welcome to Sunday Night Live. Tonight we'll be talking about how to take care of our mental health after a layoff and what are the steps that we can take for a new career change and a new beginning. So Sam is here, let's do this. Hi Dania, hi Samer. If you have any questions related to laying off or finding a new job in this crisis, please drop me your questions in the box or drop them into comments, and I and Sam, we will answer them. I have already received your questions and I will go through them tonight with Sam. Hi Jad, hi Vishu, everyone is coming. Sam, عم تسمعني?
Yep, I can hear you.
And I can hear you. Welcome to Sunday Night Live. Thank you for coming and joining.
Cool. Thank you for inviting me.
Perfect. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself to everyone.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, wherever you are. My name is Sam Eid. I'm a performance coach. I'm into everything neuro behavior, neuroscience, performance, mindset, and basically as a coach, that's what I focus on right now. I've been a TV producer for the past 22, 23 years. And then I ventured into the world of neuroscience, coaching, performance, how to basically develop your mindset to become a better performer in whatever it is that you do.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. So I have received few questions on the topic, but let's start with the basic ones. What is the first thing that a person can do or must do when he gets laid off?
Okay, well, speaking from someone who was actually laid off a few years ago before I got into coaching,
Who has,
um, yeah,
I think,
and
all of
so
us through that experience at some point in our lives.
we do. It actually came to me somewhat as a shock because I was very comfortable working in an agency for over 20 years, having a full-time job. So obviously I had a salary every end of the month.
Yeah.
And with someone who has a family, then this type of thing is catastrophic. Like it feels like as if your world is over, you know? So I think the first thing that we need to, um, you know, uh, identify is that this is a shock. I think we have to call it for what it is. And I think just like receiving a death, as if you've actually met someone and then you've heard that they passed away, it is shocking. Just like a person, you have a relationship with them for so long until that day you're asked to leave, it is a shock. So I think the first thing that you need to do is basically acknowledge
Spencer
what you're
Lodge
doing.
has just joined the session. Hi, Spencer. Thank you so much for joining. uh, Please move forward, Sam. I just wanted to say hi.
Yeah, so with regards to that, I think we need to acknowledge what's going on,
Okay.
and then allow some time, as I call the grieving process, to
Yeah.
actually sit with this just for some time. Maybe that's 3 days, maybe it's a week, maybe it's a little bit longer. But I think there is a certain amount of time you need to allow things to settle.
So what
That's
is
the
the thing that is acceptable for us to actually process what has happened to us and then take some action? What is the acceptable timeline for us to do that?
Listen, I mean, I don't think there's a set amount of days. It's almost like saying when someone very dear to you passes away, that could take, like I said, 3 days, a week, a month. But I think there comes a certain time where you can pick yourself up. I think people really need to really see and feel what that means to them. But I think they have to go through that process. Like I said, I think people who have worked for large organizations or any employer for that matter has been with them maybe for 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years. That's a long time where
Yeah.
you're dependent on them, you're dependent on your salary. And those are one of the big perks of working with a company, that you basically give them your power and you are very nice, comfortable, and settled. And so when that day comes and you need to, they ask you to go, that's a big shock. And I think that whatever anyone says, I think the best thing is like be positive and pick yourself up and cheer yourself up. To be honest with you, I think that's nonsense. I think people should actually grieve and get that time they need to settle and then, reset themselves slowly, because that's your health at the end of the day. So if you need to pick yourself up, you need to check in with yourself. This is your health. And then when you're good, strong, and feel that you can take steps forward, then you can do that.
That's a fair point. I do agree on not to grieve positively. That's what I keep telling my clients. It's okay to process your feelings. It's okay to admit to yourself that now you are in a new situation that could be challenging, that could be, not could be, it is challenging, and it requires a much wiser approach to get yourself a new job or maybe set up your own business, but to do it in also a way that you are aware that this is a temporary situation. So take all the time that you need to get yourself out of this shock, the way you called it, to process what has happened, grieve the end of this job, and welcome the new beginnings.
Yep, totally agree.
Okay, so now that we have reached the new beginning, what are the action points that a person has to do? Where do they start?
Well, first of all, I think we have to understand once they've actually went through that process, then they can check in with their health. Of course, the more you move your body, the more you allow all that blood, that circulation to, rush through your system, that will give you some sort of energy to move forward. So pick up maybe an exercise, a walk, a jog, a run, maybe any type of sports or activity, just to get back that kind of fluidity, that activity in motion. Because once that starts to happen, it starts to rush more blood into the system, which will allow you to actually think more clearly. So basically it's grieve or just settle down. Second is check in with your health by doing activities. Okay, it could be anything that moves your body that will allow that blood to rush in and create a little bit more kind of clarity in your mindset. The second thing is, when you move forward, is communicate. Now, communicate, I can't stress that enough. Communicate as much as possible, with your family members, your partner, your family, your kids, perhaps your parents, and then that outer circle. Over communicate what has happened to you and what you plan on doing to move forward. Communication is not enough. In this region we live in, unfortunately, culturally speaking, our programming, we're not really used to that, even globally for that matter. But I know for a fact, coming as an Arab man, that, informing people that you were fired or laid off, it's very difficult, and even globally for that matter. But right now, I think sorry?
It's kind of embarrassing, especially for men.
It is, because they feel they're not good enough. They feel they're not smart enough. And, coming from a place of dependency, let's face it, Arab parents, we depend on them. Like, we depend on our parents a lot. And so same thing with a company. When you've sat there for 5, 10, 15 years, or even 20 years plus, there's a dependency. So it almost creates a feeling that you can't think for yourself.
In most families, not all of them. I think now independency has risen a lot for the past decade, if I may say.
Absolutely. I'm just taking it back to people, including myself, actually. It was very difficult for me to actually acknowledge that and admit, well, you know what, my company let me go, Now, granted, with me, I kind of saw the writing on the wall, so I kind of felt this was coming. And so I wanted to talk about that a little bit later in this live, that what we can do. So first one is over communicate, where you are, what has happened, and how to move forward. Because when you bring it out there and, then people, you'd be amazed on how many people will want to help you and assist you and support you.
True.
So the second one is connect with people. And I closely relate being laid off, going back to receiving, that the news that someone has died. in many ways, I find there's similarities there. So when people get out of grieving, the best thing that they can do, they feel comforted, is when they're connected with people. At least they kind of know what's going on. They communicate with them. They tell them, what the story was and where they plan to go to pick themselves up. And like I said, you'll be amazed, but people will stand by you and fight for you and create things with you, especially if you're starting a new business or a new project or a new idea.
It's so interesting, Sam, that you are associating laying off with grief and death, while I see laying off could be rebirth of something new and something better, but we still can't see it. So it is very important. So let's recap. So the first thing is to process what has happened, to get connected with our emotions and how we feel about it, and then communicate that or over communicate that with our network, like families, friends, partner, colleagues at some point, and then connect with them. By connecting, would that also include asking for help and asking for support and setting a goal for the next step?
It could be connecting just to really understand what's going on over there, like understand what's happening in the market, understand what are the new ideas that are out there in the market, helping solve a problem, connecting to really understand what's going on, maybe what the market needs these days, connecting with friends and old friends to find out how you can help them and what services you can provide for them. And the last point is create new things. So it's just create. Now, it could be anything. I think a lot of people, like, for example, I know some accountants, they're musicians. Like they have a hobby over the weekend where they play the oud or the guitar or the piano, and they've never really considered that as a full-time thing. And so create new things, because as you know, Rahaf, we're going into a place where, in a world where people are really showing their talents, no matter how, small or silly or innovative it is, they're coming out with their talents. And I think this is a perfect time right now where people can really show off their talents. Something they've been doing as a hobby for like 10, 15, 20 years could be now their calling.
I totally agree. Our talents and skills could be restructured in a way where it could be actually a way of living and way of our career, that just have a career path, a new career path based and driven from our talents. I would also add something to what you have said, is to develop a new skill. For example, I remember when I have been laid off a few years back, I just went crazy with the online learning, getting certifications, to all kinds of things that I never actually thought that I would see myself learning things. For example, I don't know, Excel sheets. I hate Excel sheets. They really bug me, but I had to learn it because I wanted to see how do they work. I never had the time to do that. At the end of the day, now they help me to track my clients and they serve me with my finances and expenses. So it turned out to be for my benefits. So yeah. So let's say that you are still in your company, you are still an employee, but you have this feeling, this gut feeling, or what we call an intuition. They might fire me very soon. As a coach, I would say they are attracting to get fired. But from your perspective, what do you think they should do?
That's a great question. Like I said, I actually was part of that group. I was in the advertising scene, like I said, for over 20 years. And that time came where the whole advertising landscape was changing. And I could feel it like three years prior. I could really feel it and sense it, which is what I started to do. Is just like you, I found other things ahead of time to make sure that I'm ready with it. So I took up coaching. I got more specific and more specific as I grew and went along. And then when it came time for them to tell me goodbye, I was okay about it. Like, that was the push I was looking for, to be honest. And so to answer your question, the best thing is for people to prepare. Prepare, prepare, prepare. 3 P's.
Oh my guys.
Prepare. So basically what you would do after you got laid off is what you should do before you get laid off right now. So the same thing applies. Again, communicate, connect, and create. So if you can do those, because everyone is replaceable. I think we've all figured this out in the world. Everyone can be replaced immediately, okay? And now we're getting into a world of a niche talent, specialized talent. And, you know, right now you have to let go of that dependency and get more independent. So if you feel that you're on the number, you're on the list to be told to, you know, say goodbye and leave, then you should really be putting in those hours right now, figuring out the things that you want to do. Make a list. Make a list of, no matter how silly or how stupid or whatever it is, write down everything for now, and then start, you know, going back to it and revisiting it, and then, you know, refining that list. Because like I said, nothing is guaranteed. Obviously, with this whole virus that came, nobody knew what was going on. It changed everyone's world, right? So the same applies, you know, even in normal cases. You never know when you're asked to leave.
So that's awesome. Okay, so going back to making a list, because I want people to take away from the session at least like 3 to 4 action points that they could start doing, because a lot of people joining right now, tonight, they actually are laid off and they don't know what to do. So going back to the lists, do we make a list of what we want to do, like new talents maybe to show off, like you just said, and how we could make a living out of it? Do we make a list of our goals in terms of the same field and the same sector, same industry, and reach out to people involved in that? Or do we make a list of our contacts, or all of the above? Yeah.
Perfect. Oh, to be honest with you, all of the above. I think you should make a list on something that you do know, that you do love, and that's top of mind immediately, and you write it down. Like I said, there's no list that's too silly. Write down everything, okay? And I would encourage people to actually look into other industries and other domains, and connecting and asking around, asking what's going on, what's moving over there. I've noticed that most of the people that I've coached personally are very similar to me in the sense that they love to do different things. You know what I mean? Like, I'm also into motorbikes. I love motorbikes. Okay, it's a passion. I can ride it. I can even probably make a business out of it, you know, but I don't want to. So I use that. I kept that. I'm into swimming. I'm into sprinting. I'm into weights heavily in terms of weights and exercise and fitness. And I think a lot of us are like, we like to, you know, do different things in varying degrees. We like to, and I encourage that, because it gives the, you know, us more depth and more kind of
that you have chosen to yourself. All of them, or most of them, are stress relievers. So weightlifting, motorcycling, swimming, they are very good to our mental and physical health. So great choice.
Well, I think, and I encourage people, like I said, a lot of people, sorry?
How often do you practice these, or do you find time for these activities?
Probably about 5 to 6 days a week.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I do
Okay.
that I do fitness quite often. I feel that everyone should do some form of fitness, some form of activity, some form of body movement where you have resistance and tension training, which, you know, which teaches you really about your body on a deeper cellular level. You know, it really tells you what your threshold is. And the other day I posted something where, you know, would you rather you choose your resistance, or would you rather life chooses it for you? You know, and I feel that if people really understood what fitness is all about, it's really resistance. It's really, you know, kind of maybe marathon running, ultra marathon, bodybuilding, all forms of fitness. There's a resistance, you know, and I cross a parallel between resistance and what we see in the workplace, where that's another form of resistance. You know, it's something that you can't see, but something you could feel. So I encourage people to actually ensure that their bodies are always moving, so you can really feel that resistance, really get that blood flowing.
Okay, that's for me. For example, I remember that I really was feeling that I need to find a specific activity that helps me release the stress. So I joined a box camp, and it was amazing. It helped me on many things. It's like ضربت عصفورين بحجر. One, it helped me with my anxiety, and one, it helped me to refocus and
Very nice.
to lighten my resistance. So it was very nice activity for myself and until the lockdown took place. But that was one of the my favorite activities, to be honest. And I totally agree, because at some point when you are stressed or anxious, you do need to take care of your physical health so you could be able to be mentally prepared to make decisions and healthier decisions. When we are stressed, our minds trick us to think or to believe that things are really worse than they seem to be. And this is what I urge people to do, like find an activity that can help you release your stress and then make a decision on what you want to do regarding your job.
Very true. Very true. I think it's also something about the movement, the physical movement. It's not just about being fit, but it's actually learning how to listen to your body. It's learning the threshold, your threshold, how much tension or resistance can you handle. And the best thing about fitness is that it actually shows you something and proves something about yourself that you haven't seen before. So it's not just fitness. There's a whole huge list of benefits that we can benefit from. And like I said, of understanding where is our threshold? Like when do we, burn out, And for people that are not used to moving, that are being asked to leave their job or get fired, it can really seriously come as a shock to them. That's so traumatic. And I've had people I've seen a couple of people where they had palpitations, like they literally couldn't breathe, So
understandable reaction. You can't blame them, especially when you mentioned something about your experience. For people who have been in the same company for more than 10 years, that's their safety, that's their job security. So basically it wouldn't be part of their plans. And once you take them out of their comfort zone, now what? So having to tell them that you need to connect and to process what has happened and to communicate, they might not see it as a logical approach. They for them, it's the end of the world. So what with your clients, what was your best case scenario to help them cope with this new situation, to help them overcome this too much stress and pressure and anxiety that no way? For example, I've got clients of my own that they are literally blaming the market, blaming the economy, blaming everything else, when I believe, because I have been in the house since March, maybe. And to be honest, I have worked hard and smart to keep things going. And it was a collective thing. Like everyone, all people around us, all over the world, were struggling with their jobs. But it's also how you make use of those lists, how to set your goals and actually put some reasonable action approaches to reach one goal at a time. How can you compromise? Where should I sacrifice? What can I do less? Where should I do more? These kind of things, people are still not fully aware and fully knowledgeable on this kind of mindset. So how do you help them overcome this kind of belief? Like, no, this is a collective, this is a worldwide thing. The economy is really bad. I will never find a job. I'm laid off. I have a family. I have financial obligations. So they put all of their pressures and problems in one tray. And what next? What do I do now?
Yeah. Well, I think when people are in a situation like that when you have the emotions are high, I think you just have to wait until it settles.
So they cool down.
Okay? So they cool down. It's almost like talking to a child at that point. Like there's no point in getting through with them just yet until everything kind of settles down. So it's very understandable that they feel denial. It's very understandable that they're blaming things around them and events and situations. That's very understandable. But after a certain point in time, they will come around. They will come around. And that's how I schedule my sessions. The first 1 to 2 session is really more of like a waiting period just for them to kind of settle and ease into being comfortable, you know, not having to go back to work just yet. Okay. And then once they're in a resourceful state, that's when we can really make some shifts. That's where we can really use our imagination to really make some magic, like some real big stuff. So, like I said, I'm the type of coach is very pragmatic, very practical. If there's a fire going on, I'll tell you there's a fire. Like it's not like, oh, don't worry, we'll put that fire out immediately. No, 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 no. I'm very practical. I don't like the fluff. I want to move as quickly as possible. I want to help people as quickly as possible. But I also have to exercise a degree of being realistic. So they know I'm on the same page with them and we're on this journey together. And I know how it feels firsthand to go through that and how you could actually shift that to something more powerful, something that you would actually look back at yourself and say, wow, thank God they let me go. You know?
Yes, yes, I can 100% agree to that. I was laid off, as I said, a few years back, and for now, every single day I say, thank you for firing me. Look at me right now. So my life has transformed literally 180 degrees. So I completely understand. Back then it was for me like a disaster. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Now it was thank God, thank God, thank God, thank God. One question for you, Sam, is what if the search of a new purpose or a new career or a new job or everything that we have done straight to the guidebook haven't worked yet and it dragged more than we expected it to be? How do we take care of our mental health with that situation?
Okay, well, first of all, we have to understand the basic rules. Like, success doesn't happen overnight. Things take time. Okay, so whatever that person is going through, so if they lost their job, there's a certain degree of time that'll take to get back on their feet, and that's okay. They got to know it's okay. It's okay. Now I know that that could affect people because of they have bills to pay. It's not easy. I certainly know that, but I think sometimes we need that kick in the butt, and it's a good thing. And no matter how you package it, it hits you hard. And the whole purpose of actually, innovation is, the necessity. Like now I have to act, okay, and I have to do something. And so once you reach that point, that's when you're gonna start to add things on your list that you wouldn't have thought you would do. Okay, you're gonna start to reach out to people.
Side hustles, you mean?
Sorry?
Like side hustles, you mean?
Side hustles, new products, new ideas. You start to, introduce those things into your world where you never thought you would do that. You'll start to connect with people that you never thought you would. And so magically, things start to come into your world and things start to begin to happen. And as they say, the more you invest in yourself, the more you will actually grow pretty quickly.
That's
So
so
if you
true.
want to reach there fast, then the big question is how much time are you willing to invest in you?
That's so weird you mentioned that. Thank you. Just today, I posted something on my LinkedIn on how important it is right now, more than ever, to invest in ourselves by reading, by connecting, by surrounding ourselves with people we want ourselves to be like them as at one point, or maybe we want to be more of that person. Now it's the time to cleanse and invest in ourselves because at some point it's going to pay off. Even if that meant to spend more time on an e-learning course rather than go getting yourself new clients or a new job. Now it's the time to invest because it will serve you better while you find yourself a new career or a new job. 100% agree with you. I like
Definitely.
that.
On that point, we actually have a large organization who's a client of ours,
Okay.
who's in an industry that's not doing so well at the moment. It's not doing well at all. And convincing them that this is in fact the best time to actually invest in more in coaching and training is very, very difficult, and I can understand it. But sometimes you really need to take a step back. We're not, we're not in the business of pushing things onto people or companies when they simply not ready for it. I think there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there who can understand what I'm talking about, that this is the best time to actually invest in yourself, in your training, change your mindset, and really focus on something like growing and doing some amazing things as quickly as you can. So to your point, like I said, not everyone follows that because they're busy still grieving, so to speak. And so whatever you do or say to help them to get out of that, sometimes is just not good enough, and that's okay. That's a perfect time for any coach or trainer to take a step back and say, it is what it is.
True. One thing I've learned, speaking of investing in ourselves, is that even when you are doing nothing that is financially productive yet, but you are maybe getting an online course, or you're connecting with someone, or you have hired a coach to help you, restructure your life in one way or another, that's an opportunity. So that's an opportunity but on its own, and that could help you later on build yourself a new financial plan and a new financial goal. This is something that I would like, if you can, maybe, because this affects our mental health by focusing on the lack of something rather than the creation of something new.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, I think you have a certain period. I think with everyone, the moment that you receive something negative, something daunting, something that pulls you back, just like with everyone, you need a certain period, you need a certain time to recollect and gather your thoughts and calm down. Okay, it's very important to know that we have to go through a process. So once things slow down a bit and you settle and the dust settles, then you could start to take action. Then you can start to ask more questions, okay, from yourself and from others. Find out what's needed out there. You know what I mean? Find out what's going to drive you. Okay, working on your driving question, that's very, very important.
Why?
Exactly. Why are you doing this? That's going to give you the juice. That's going to give you the fuel to really go far. And then, of course, always test and explore. Always test. Like this whole growth thing, there's no end to it. We're always refining, modifying, crafting, refining, modifying. It's just an ongoing journey, and that's good. It's like a tree kind of growing. It's evolving into a bigger, size type of tree, which is also changing in the process.
True. So I have a question for you. One was asking, I got laid off recently and I have paid all of my dues like rent and expenses and everything else, but I still did not find a new job. I do have savings on the side. They're not really enough, but I don't know what to do with them. Do I keep them to keep paying my rents and bills, or do I do something with them that can pay forward or pay back in the future?
Okay, well, that's going to be probably a common question with quite a few people. And I don't know that person well enough to really know how much of this needs to go
I
there.
know. So
So
in general,
it's such a personal question that I would, if you can afford it, seek out a coach very quickly, because they will help you. They will help you to reach clarity so you can put a plan in motion to move forward. If you can't, then at least ask yourself a couple of questions, like, what do I really, really want that's going to make me happy, that's going to get me quick money now? Now, that could be something like tutoring. That could be something that you want to sell and flip on Dubizzle, or something like that. I'm not the entrepreneur that will give you those tips, but you can quickly come up with some ideas to give you some quick money. Maybe even you want to be an assistant or a apprentice to someone. Maybe it's not so much money, but that's the industry you'd like to go in. And I would also like to say, if you feel passionate about something specific, maybe do a little bit of free work, just to get your name out there, get exposure. That would help you. Again, I don't know the exact person's financial situation or position, but you got to get out of this. You know what I
True.
mean? You have to get out of this, and you will get out of this. The question is, how much can you afford that will get you the clarity you need in order to move forward and build?
How much can you afford, or how much do you want it?
Well, that's another way of looking at it. If you really want it, but again, yeah, exactly. Some people, I do know some people, actually, a couple of people that have actually came to me where that was pretty much their final savings. And to me, I felt, I want to make sure that to deliver everything I've got. I want to give them everything, okay? And I want to, follow up on them. I want to hold them accountable. I really want to see them succeed. And I think there was a little bit of an attachment there because I know that it meant a lot to them. So you're right. How bad do you want it?
I hear you. I hear you. So, Sam, what else would you like to talk about? We are done with the questions, so I leave it to you to speak about anything related to this, maybe more tips, maybe something from your own program coaching that could help people with their laying off. How can you help them so they can get in touch with you?
Okay. Well, first of all, I mean, mental health is, as I told you before, Rahaf, it's very dear to me. I think it's probably the most topics that I think large organizations, small organizations, everyone really should be talking about, communicating about, creating groups about, because the more we know about each other, the better and safer we are. And so I strongly advise people to invest in mental health, to voice their opinion if they're working in a company, to create groups in their organization where they can actually, feed off each other, create a friendly and fun environment where people are welcomed to, express themselves. I think this is very, very, very important.
That was one of the things that I was working on, actually, to reach out to companies to help them build their own employees' well-being programs. And I was
Amazing.
surprised by the number of people that did not know what a wellness program is. So that really, it was a very nice opportunity for me, because this is what I do for a living.
Of course.
People to voice their voices out, to take care of their mental health and wellness. So for companies, some people do not believe the importance. I literally got one answer that was so funny, but we ended up working together. He literally said, Sam, we don't care if they're fine, they're not fine, as long as my sales are met and the targets are okay and on the table, I don't care. And I was like, no, you should care.
Yeah.
So it's so true. But this pandemic was such a good, I want to say something.
It was a wake-up call.
It was a good wake-up call for all kinds of companies, because everyone, we're at telephone, because everyone was actually seeing how bad this pandemic was on our mental health from a company's perspective and from a personal perspective. So now you can see that the demand on this topic has risen. So, which is good. It's a good start. Sorry, guys, I'm just trying to make it stable, but don't mind me. Keep talking. So, so yeah, I totally agree on that. And yes, so how can people come to you, and how can you help them to deal with their mental health after being laid off?
Well, basically, I mean, mental health is more your game than it is mine. Mine is basically mindset driven. I work on asking important questions to people to really find out where they are now, where they'd like to be, and then both of us are going to design a plan on how to get there. So basically, I look at after the behaviors that they show and plan the behaviors that they can start to use to implement immediately. That's where really what I focus on. It's all about performance. It's how you think and what you kind of use as a toolkit for you to help you go through it. That I think is quite powerful and has changed people's lives.
It is. Ya Allah, I don't know if Yara is still here. Yara is my coach, and she helps me, and she used to help me when I was at the phase of I'm laid off, what should I do, and then she helped create a new life for me, and she's still my coach until now, even when I became a coach myself. So
That's
we were
great.
talking how important and how beautiful our job is as coaches, to help people really transform their life from one thing, from one place to another. And the responsibility that we are taking is really very huge, but at the
Hmm.
same time it's such beautiful if done authentically and genuinely and professionally.
True.
That could be a topic for another session, how to make sure you are with the right coach and with the right mentor, because it does affect your life and your decisions for the coming 10 years maybe.
Of course. Of course. Definitely. So what people, I think right now we're going through, like you said before, Rahaf, we're going through a point of change. It's forcing people to think differently. It's forcing people to behave differently. And, I think it's an evolution that was well needed. It's taken a lot of time to get here, but, there are people that are doing very well during this time, this is their season, as they say. So I think it's also shifting people who have lost their job, and helping them go to a place where it becomes their season. You know what I mean? We start to kind
Well,
of, yeah, harvest together, where there was no opportunity. We start to create the opportunity, you know? And I think, we're seeing it already. We've got entrepreneurship, we've got innovation, we've got startup communities. They're creating stuff out of necessity, you know? So really and ultimately, that's really my job when I have a client, is to create something almost out of nothing, you know? So if there's anything that's big that I can share with the community, is if you've lost your job, right? Then there are steps that you could use to kind of settle down, get ready, and then fire back up, in a more powerful and more passionate type of way to move forward where you're on the offense.
that's amazing. I love the idea that creating something out of nothing. I absolutely love this. All right. So do you have anything else that you'd like to discuss before we wrap it up?
Yeah, no, I think it was just on the concept of mental health. I think that was, like I said, very important. In this region, we have grown to become dependent. And I think right now is the time to become independent. Um, and I think we all deserve the chance to be heard. We all deserve the chance to do something that we absolutely love. So, and we all deserve the chance to show and express ourselves. And this is the perfect time to do it, you know?
Amen. Amen to that. Thank you so much for being here with me on this session. I really loved
And to you.
everything you said, and I totally agree 100%. Um, I will be posting this IGTV on my profile just in case you would like to share it with your audience. And we'll be
Sure.
sharing a little brief as well of the tips that you have shared. And guys, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for your comments, for the questions. And until next week, have a good night.
Thank you, Rahaf.
Bye.
Bye-bye.